Tonight, the UK is saying it's going to activate its Navy to try and serve as escorts through the Strait of Hormuz. In other words, it's telling all the ships that travel through there that they're going to make sure they ensure their safety. This is interesting because it follows the incident, as you remember last week, on the ship where the Iranians actually seized the British tanker. You can actually see in some of the video as Iranian special forces, the commandos, see them right there. They're coming down and actually landing on the ship, several of them. So that's how they were able to commandeer the ship. Now it seems that the British are embroiled in a similar tit-for-tat over oil tankers, just like the United States and Iran were just about 3 weeks to a month ago. John Jordan is here. He's trying to sort this out for us. He's been looking at this story for some time. John, take us through your take on what the British can or can't do in this situation.
Well, what the British have done here with Jeremy Hunt, their former foreign secretary, is created from Dr. Doolittle a creature known as a push-me-pull-you. They want to have a separate European-based naval force to provide escorts for European-flagged tankers. But the fact of the matter is the Royal Navy, which is the strongest in Europe, only has 6 destroyers, 13 frigates, and due to funding and political issues, can't field all of them at once, doesn't have the surveillance assets, so would have to integrate with the United States if they want to have any hope of being safe or effective. The German Navy's even worse shape. So it looks like they want to do one thing, but don't have the military wherewithal to actually pull it off.
So why are they making these boasts then?
Well, this was the outgoing May administration, so it looks like this was poorly thought through. They want to have the appearance of being independent of the United States to continue their political leverage with Iran, to keep the hope of the Iran deal alive, but it's not something that they can back up.
I'm wondering, especially when it comes to the Brits, whether this is some kind of fissure, or is it fair for us to look at it as a fissure between them and the United States, the fact that they're seeming to want to go it alone when it comes to their defense against Iran?
Well, I don't think that the outgoing May administration really knew what they were doing. England had on paper been protective of the JCPOA, the Iran nuclear deal, and wanted to protect it in conjunction with their European partners. And it looks like what they're trying to do is create some sort of political daylight between Europe and the United States by Europe having its own military presence there, but isn't beholden to the United States. So at least they could give the appearance to the Iranians of being a separate entity. But it's just not practical militarily.
But why, though? I understand what you're saying, and I think everything that you're saying, certainly from your experience in naval intelligence, makes sense because you know this stuff. But my question is more to the point as to whether perhaps either the Boltons or the Pompeos or maybe Mr. Trump himself has somehow done something that causes the Brits to want to separate themselves somewhat from the United States and its very aggressive policy with Iran, almost as if to send a message to the world and say, you know what, we can handle this. We can take care of this ourselves, all right? Isn't that what they're saying?
Well, yeah, that is exactly what they're saying, Rick. What the Europeans are trying to do is project the appearance of being independent to try to preserve the Iran nuclear deal, and because their public demands daylight between them and the United States. The administration is not popular in Europe. European public opinion is going one way while the United States is going another. But that's what they want to do, is give the appearance of a European option to protect European shipping in the Gulf.
You think it could be, possibly, because they think the United States' position, not only with Iran, but with many countries in the hands of Bolton, et cetera, has been very heavy-handed. And they possibly want to distance themselves from that. After all, their relationship with the Persians and other countries is much longer standing than the U.S. relationship is.
Absolutely. Since in 2015, when the nuclear agreement was signed, European EU trade with Iran quintupled. Total, the French oil conglomerate, was entered into a $4.5 billion gas exploration deal with Iran and had to pull out. The Europeans have a long history of accommodation and friendliness towards the Iranian regime, where the United States hasn't really talked to them. We haven't even had diplomatic relations since 1979. So the Europeans are trying to pursue their own foreign policy with regard to Iran because they clearly do not agree with that of the United States.
John Jordan, we appreciate your time and your expertise, and we thank you for joining us. So you haven't heard that we're the ones covering the stories that you won't see covered anywhere else? In Venezuela, Kazakhstan, let's go to Hong Kong. And the media reaction to that has been crickets. How about the way we cover those stories? What the hell does that mean? Wowee, wowee, wowee. That's the key word in this case, uprising. Keep? Can you believe that? Watching. This is the right thing for members of the media to do, to actually pick sides. Look, if you like what you see, subscribe.